Welcome, everyone. Before we start, I want you to take a deep breath because this is not just another video about money tips. This is not about theory. It's not about motivational quotes. This is about you, your future, your mistakes, your patterns, and the invisible habits that are quietly, silently keeping you poor. Most people don't even realize it. They work hard, they stay busy, they survive. But still, they struggle. They stay stuck. They stay small. And year after year, the gap between who they are and who they could be grows wider. You want to get rich? You want freedom? You want to feel powerful in your own life? Then stop running and start listening. Because in this video, I'm going to show you the real reasons why people stay broke. Not the reasons they teach you in school. Not the reasons that go viral on Reels. But the real, ugly, raw, brutal truths that are keeping people trapped for life. You'll see yourself in these habits, and you might not like it. But you'll never forget it. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything begins to change. This isn't just a powerful video. It's also a secret weapon for your English. You're not just learning life-changing lessons. You're training your ears, your brain, and your voice to speak better English, faster. So every second you watch, you're getting stronger, in life and in language. Let's start. Habit 1. Waiting for the perfect time. This habit has destroyed more dreams than poverty ever did. You tell yourself, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll invest when I have more money. I'll build my side hustle next month. Now isn't the right time. But here's the truth. There is no perfect time. There never was. And there never will be. Waiting is how the mind hides fear. It feels safe. It feels smart. But it's fear pretending to be logic. And fear disguised as logic is the most dangerous kind of fear. People wait for the right mood, the right age, the right opportunity. But while they're waiting, time is working against them. The world doesn't pause for you. Your potential doesn't sit around forever. It dies quietly while you tell yourself, I'll do it later. For example, there was a man named Alex. He had a dream to start a business, but he waited and waited and waited. 10 years later, he was still at the same job, making the same money, hating his life. But now, with more responsibility, more fear, and less energy, his dream didn't die because of failure. It died because of hesitation. Understand this. Success doesn't come when you're ready. It comes when you act. Even if you're scared. The people who win in life are not the ones who had the perfect plan. They're the ones who moved, while everyone else waited. Habit 2. Living to impress people. You secretly envy. This one is quiet, but deadly. You see someone post their vacation, their new car, their brand name shoes. You don't even like them. But suddenly, you feel like you need those things too. So you spend, you swipe, you borrow. You decorate your life with things you don't need to impress people you don't even respect. And this is how most people stay poor. They don't live for freedom. They live for validation. And validation is expensive. You'll see people with the latest iPhone and no savings. People with designer clothes and maxed out credit cards. People celebrating weekends, but drowning in anxiety on Mondays. Why? Because they're building an image, not a life. Here's the painful truth. Every time you spend money to impress others, you are stealing from your future self. Let me give you an example. Sarah was a 26-year-old who worked in marketing. Her colleagues were flashy, always showing off. So she started spending more. A luxury handbag, designer heels, fancy dinners. She looked rich, but her bank balance told the real story. Then one day, her company laid her off. No savings, no emergency fund, no backup plan, only regrets. You know what hurts more than being broke? Being broke? And then realizing you did it to impress people who wouldn't even lend you $10. So stop playing the image game. The goal is not to look rich. The goal is to be free. And freedom doesn't come from showing off. It comes from sacrificing now, so you never have to beg later. Habit 3. Escaping with entertainment, instead of building with discipline. Let's be brutally honest. Most people today are not poor because they don't have opportunities. They're poor because they drown their potential in distractions. They say, "I'm too tired after work. I need something to relax my mind. I'll just watch one episode." One becomes 3. A few reels become 3 hours. YouTube, Netflix, scrolling, gaming, it all feels innocent until you realize it has stolen years of your life. But here's what most people never understand. Entertainment is not the enemy, but addiction to escape is. There is nothing wrong with watching a movie, but when your dreams are dying and you're watching other people live theirs, you're not relaxing, you are escaping. And the cost is massive, because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The difference between rich and poor is not talent, it's how they use their time. The wealthy don't spend their evenings consuming endless entertainment. They read, they learn, they practice, they build, even when they're tired. Especially when they're tired. Not because they're robots, but because they understand one truth. Temporary discomfort builds permanent freedom. And here's the scary part. Most people think they're just taking a break, but they're actually building a habit of avoidance. Every time you run to comfort instead of growth, you reinforce weakness. You don't need more energy. You don't need more motivation. You need to realize that entertainment is delaying your evolution. Start replacing just 30 minutes of distraction with something productive. Not because it's fun, but because your future demands it. Because no one accidentally becomes successful. You either waste your nights, or you rise with them. Habit 4. Being emotionally addicted to a paycheck. This one hurts, because it feels so normal. We're raised to think, get a job, work hard, get paid, stay safe. And on the surface, that's fine. But what most people don't see is that they're not just earning money. They're becoming dependent on it, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The paycheck becomes more than income. It becomes identity. So you stop taking risks. You stop questioning. You stop thinking for yourself. Because the thought of losing that monthly comfort terrifies you. And here's what happens next. You start accepting being underpaid, being overworked, being disrespected, being stuck. Because as long as the salary arrives on the first, you feel safe. But is that really safety, or is it controlled survival? Because here's what most poor and middle-class people never realize. A paycheck is not security. It's just a delay between two fears. Fear of not having enough, and fear of leaving what you know. The system is not designed to make you free. It's designed to make you reliable, quiet, obedient, dependent. And the more emotionally attached you are to that monthly money, the less likely you are to build something of your own. Let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with having a job. But when the job becomes your mental prison, when you lose the courage to create, when you no longer build something beyond it, You've given up your life for survival. People who break free, they start something on the side. They read, they sell, they create, even if it's small, even if it's messy, because they understand that. True freedom is when your income is not tied to permission. If you have to ask someone for a raise, if you have to beg for a bonus, if you have to wait 30 days to get paid, you are not rich. You are stuck. Start building something, even if it pays nothing at first, even if no one supports you, even if it takes years. Because one day, that small thing might become the very thing that sets you free. Habit 5. Thinking like a consumer, instead of a creator. This is one of the most dangerous and invisible habits that keep people poor because it feels normal. It feels harmless. You get your salary and you think, what can I buy? You scroll through your phone and you think, what's trending? What's cool? What's the next thing I should get? Your entire mind is wired to consume, and that's exactly how they want you to think. Society trains you to buy more than you build, spend more than you save, desire more than you create. You become the product. You become the target. You become the trap. Look around. Everything you see is designed to trigger consumption, not creation, not independence, not freedom. The poor and middle class are trapped in this cycle. Earn, spend, entertain, repeat. And the more they consume, the less they build. The less they build, the less they earn. The less they earn, the more they chase pleasure. And the cycle continues until life is over. But here's what rich people do differently. They think like producers, not consumers. They ask, what can I create, sell, or offer that brings value to others? They create businesses, skills, content, solutions, products, impact. And that's why money chases them. Because they don't sit around waiting for a raise. They don't rely on sales and discounts. They control the value. And when you control value, you control income. Poor people try to look rich. Rich people try to build wealth. And you can feel this difference in their mindset. The consumer mindset says, I need this. The creator mindset asks, can I learn this? Can I sell this? Can I build this? One of them keeps you broke. The other sets you free. Start shifting, even if it's small, even if you don't know how yet. Start asking, what can I create today that brings value to someone else? Because once you shift your identity from consumer to creator, your life will never look the same again. Habit 6. Avoiding financial responsibility and blaming others. This one is silent, but it's everywhere. People say things like, the government is corrupt. My parents never taught me about money. The economy is broken. The rich are greedy. It's not my fault I'm poor. And yes, maybe these things are true. Maybe you were born in a difficult environment. Maybe you didn't get financial education. Maybe the system really is unfair. But here's the harsh truth. None of that changes the fact that your financial life is still your responsibility. Life is not fair, but it is still your life. And the longer you blame, the longer you stay stuck. Blame feels good in the short term. It protects your ego. It makes you feel like a victim. It gives you someone to point the finger at. But here's the danger. When you give blame, you also give away power. And once you give away power, you've already lost. Think about it. If your money problems are someone else's fault, then you're saying the solution is also in someone else's hands. That's the belief that keeps people poor forever. But the moment you say, this is on me, I may not have created the problem, but I will create the solution. That's when the game changes. Because now, you're in control. You start learning, you start budgeting, you start saving, investing, growing. You stop waiting for help. You become your own help. Yes, the odds might be against you, but the moment you stop blaming and start building, you become unstoppable. Because wealth is not just about money, it's about ownership. And people who take ownership eventually take control. It's not your fault if you were born poor. You didn't choose that. But if you die poor, that's on you. Because now you have time. You have the internet. You have knowledge. You have every tool your ancestors never had. So if you stay broke, stuck, and small, it's not because of your birth. It's because you gave up on your fight. Don't let your excuses outlive your potential. Don't die with nothing. When you were born with the power to create everything. Habit 7. Never investing in your mind. This one is invisible and tragic because people spend years chasing money, but they never upgrade the one thing that creates it. Their brain. Think about it. People will spend thousands on a phone, hundreds on clothes, endless hours watching shows and scrolling apps. But they won't spend 1 hour reading a book, a few minutes listening to something educational, even a little energy learning about investing, business, or skill building. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But here's the truth no one likes to hear. Your income will never grow bigger than your mind. Because money doesn't just go to effort, it goes to understanding. You don't get rich by working harder. You get rich by thinking smarter. And that begins with learning. But most people don't read. They don't study. They don't grow. Not because they're not capable, but because they're addicted to comfort. They say, I already know this. It's boring. It doesn't matter. I'll learn later. Later becomes never. And I know enough becomes the lie that ruins everything. Ask yourself, when was the last time you finished a book on money? When was the last time you watched a documentary instead of a drama? When was the last time you invested in learning a new skill instead of buying something new? The people who escape poverty, they're not the luckiest. They're the most curious. They obsess over learning. They study. They listen. They grow every single day because they understand. If I can upgrade my mind, I can upgrade my income. And no one can take that away from me. You want to be rich? Then invest in your mind more than your image. Because your brain, not your bank account, is your real net worth. Habit 8. Being surrounded by people who think small. Let's be real. You could have big dreams. You could have massive potential. But if you're constantly surrounded by people who think small, talk small, and live small, your potential will quietly shrink until it dies. Because your environment is not neutral. It's shaping you. Every single day. Most people don't even realize it. But they're slowly becoming carbon copies of the people they spend the most time with. If your friends complain about work every day, blame everyone except themselves, never read, never build, never grow, laugh at the idea of doing more, being more, becoming more, then guess what? No matter how ambitious you are, you'll start thinking like them. Because humans are wired to adapt. And in the wrong environment, that survival instinct becomes your prison. You will start lowering your standards, talking like them, spending like them, thinking success is too much or not for people like us. And that's how your future gets killed in silence, by the people you trust the most. Now, this doesn't mean you need to cut off every friend or family member, but it does mean this. You must protect your mental space like your life depends on it, because it does. If you're the smartest, most disciplined, most driven person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. You need people who push you. You need conversations that stretch you. You need relationships that challenge your comfort and force you to level up. 1 hour with the right person can shift your mindset more than 10 years with the wrong one. So look around, look closely. Your circle is either your cage or your catalyst. Choose wisely. Habit 9. Always looking for the shortcut. Instead of respecting the process, this one is dangerous, because in today's world, everything is fast. Fast food, fast delivery, fast fame. So people start expecting fast success too. They want to. Get rich without learning. Grow without struggling. Win without failing. Succeed without sacrificing. They chase hacks, tricks, overnight secrets. They fall for get-rich-quick promises. And when results don't come fast, they quit. Here's the truth. If your dream is real, it will take time. If your dream is big, it will break you before it builds you. But most people don't want to hear that, because they don't want the process. They want the result. They want the income, not the years of practice. They want the lifestyle, not the discipline. They want freedom, but they run from the work. And that's why they stay poor, because shortcuts feel good at first, but they cost you more in the end. Think about it like this. You can either spend 3 years building something real, something that pays you forever, or you can spend 10 years jumping from idea to idea, quitting when it gets hard, and ending up with nothing. Because every time you quit and restart, you lose momentum. You lose growth. You lose trust in yourself. Rich people respect the process. They don't look for the fastest path. They look for the path that actually works, even if it's slow, even if it's hard, even if it's lonely, because they understand. You don't get what you wish for. You get what you work for. Over time, through pain, with patience. If you want to be rich, don't rush the result. Fall in love with the work, with the grind, with the struggle, with the process. Because in the end, it's the process that makes you strong enough to hold the success when it finally arrives. Habit 10. Celebrating too early and too often. This one is subtle, but deadly. You start a little side hustle. You make a little progress. You get a small win. And what do most people do? They celebrate like they've made it. They take time off, spend the little money they earned, relax too soon, lose momentum. They confuse starting with succeeding, and they celebrate so much that they stop moving forward. But here's the truth. The moment you think you've made it, you've already started falling. Because success is not a moment, it's a pattern. And that pattern dies when you treat every step like the finish line. Real winners celebrate in silence. They don't announce every move. They don't need approval or applause. They don't stop to show off. They keep going. They stay focused. They know that early celebration kills momentum. Think about this. If a plane takes off and stops climbing halfway through because it feels high enough, what happens? It crashes. Success works the same way. The beginning is not the end. The first sale is not financial freedom. The first $1,000 is not wealth. It's just the beginning. And if you stop there, you lose everything you could have had. Let your success compound quietly. Let your wins build momentum, not distraction. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to keep going. Because the moment you stop too soon is the moment you lose everything you were building. Habit 11. Ignoring where your money goes. Most people don't need more money. They need to stop losing the money they already have. But you know what's common? People have no idea where their money goes. They earn it. They spend it. Then they look at their account at the end of the month and wonder, where did it all go? This is the financial version of bleeding without knowing you're cut. And here's what makes it dangerous. It's not the big expenses that destroy most people. It's the invisible leaks. A little overspending here, a subscription you forgot to cancel, a dinner you didn't plan for. Impulse buys that feel small, but add up fast. And every month, the same cycle repeats. But because the pain isn't loud, people don't take it seriously. There's no alarm bell, no warning, just slow financial decay. Understand this. You can't grow what you don't measure. You can't master what you don't track. If you don't know exactly how much you earn, how much you keep, where every dollar is going, what's growing, what's leaking, and what's useless, then you are not managing money. You are reacting to it. Wealth doesn't come from what you earn. It comes from what you keep and control. And you cannot control what you refuse to face. Think of your money like a business. If a company doesn't know where its cash is going, how long will it survive? Not long. So why do people treat their personal finances like a mystery? Because deep down, they fear the truth. They'd rather not look at their spending. Because if they see it, they'd have to change it. But change begins with truth. Start tracking every expense. Not just once, but always. Not because it's fun, but because your freedom is hiding in the numbers you're ignoring. Habit 12. Being too proud to start small. This one is silent, but deadly. You have a goal. You have a dream. But you want to start big. You want to start impressive. You want it to look successful from day one. And if it doesn't, you don't start at all. That's how people stay poor. Because they confuse starting small with being small. They confuse humility with failure. They care more about how things look than how things grow. But here's the reality. Every empire starts with invisible effort. Every master started as a beginner. Every success looks stupid at the start. People want to write a book, but they won't write the first page. They want to start a business, but they won't sell one product. They want to invest, but they won't even open an account. Why? Because they're afraid of being seen starting from zero. They want the glory, not the grind. They want the applause, not the silence. They want the destination, not the path. But if you're too proud to look like a beginner, you'll never become the expert. Poor people let ego block their action. Rich people embrace the humility of starting small, failing publicly, and learning loudly. Because they know, the faster you're willing to look foolish, the faster you grow. Pride will tell you, if you can't do it big, don't do it at all. Discipline will whisper, start small, stay consistent, let the world catch up later. The world never respects what you start big. It respects what you never quit. Habit 13. Living in the past or the future, but never the present. This habit is subtle, but it destroys everything. So many people live either regretting what they didn't do or dreaming about what they might do. They say, if only I had started 5 years ago. One day I'll launch that business. I wish I had taken that risk. I'm just waiting for the right time. And while they live in memories or fantasies, the present is being wasted. They don't realize that. Wealth is never built in the past, and it's never built in the future. It's only built in the present. The only time you can take action is now. The only time you can learn, change, grow is now. But most people are mentally somewhere else. They let guilt eat their focus, or they let fantasy give them fake comfort, and the cost is brutal because they miss the only window that's real: today. Time is the most unforgiving currency. You can recover from mistakes. You can rebuild money. You can repair relationships. But you can never get back a wasted year. You can never buy back wasted time. And the more you avoid the present, the more the future looks like your past. That's the real danger. You cannot build wealth with one day. You cannot fix regret by replaying it. You fix it by acting now. What small step can you take today, not next week, that your future self will thank you for? Do that. Because the past is a chapter. The future is a hope. But today is your chance. And most people waste it every single day. Habit 14. Being afraid of looking stupid. This is it. The final habit. And it's the one that kills more dreams than failure ever could. It's not laziness. It's not intelligence. It's not money. It's ego. Specifically, the fear of looking stupid. The fear of being seen trying. The fear of others watching you fail, struggle, ask questions, or start small. And this fear, it controls everything. People say, I want to start a business, but they're scared someone will laugh when it fails. I want to learn investing, but they're afraid of asking basic questions. I want to post content, but they're worried people will mock them. I want to learn something new, but they don't want to be seen as a beginner. So what do instead? They stay quiet, they stay safe, they stay average, and they protect their pride at the cost of their future. But here's the truth. No one became great by looking smart all the time. In fact, the people who win the biggest are the ones who look foolish at the beginning. They stumble. They ask dumb questions. They get judged. They look awkward. They feel uncomfortable. But they do it anyway, because they know something most people don't. Looking stupid for a few months is better than staying broke for a lifetime. You can either protect your image, or you can build your empire, but not both. And the real tragedy is this. Most people already know what they need to do. They know they need to learn. They know they need to try. They know they need to show up, speak up, and start. But they're more afraid of judgment than poverty. That's the brutal truth. They care more about someone's opinion than their own potential. And that is how dreams die. Not with a crash, but with a quiet decision. I'd rather be accepted than free. You must kill that habit. You must stop living for approval. You must get comfortable looking awkward. You must start, even when you're unprepared. You must speak, even when your voice shakes. Because every master once looked like a fool. Every winner once looked like a mess. Every success story began with someone who had the courage to be uncomfortable. This is not optional. This is the price. The ones who rise are the ones who are willing to look stupid long enough to become brilliant. So now the question is, will you protect your pride? Or will you build your future? Because you don't get both. Now you've seen the truth. Not the sugar-coated advice, not the fake motivational quotes, but the real, painful, life-changing truth. These 14 habits, they're not random. They're not optional. They're the exact patterns that are keeping people broke, stuck, and silent. And here's what matters now. What will you do with this truth? Because most people, they watch a video like this, and they nod. They say, "That's deep." They say, "That's true." And then they scroll away and go right back to the same habits. But if you want to be different, if you want to be the one who breaks the cycle, then you don't just watch this video. You live it. You apply it. You write it down. You act on it. You become the person who makes poverty afraid. Understand this. You don't need permission. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You just need one decision. I will no longer participate in my own destruction. Say it to yourself. Say it out loud. Because the moment you take full responsibility, everything begins to change. You are not stuck. You are not too late. You are not broken. You are just one decision away from becoming the person you were always meant to be.